G'day Jaffa Adventures, Terry King here. Welcome to the channel. I've got a really short modification video for you today that might just help save dust in your motor. Stick around. Today what I'm going to do is install a semi-permanent snorkel sock onto this Safari Snorkel ram air head. Now, why would you put a snorkel sock on top of the ram head on your snorkel? And of course, the simple answer to that is it's just another barrier of defense for potentially getting dust into your motor. And that's regardless of whether you're on a 200 series or any other car that has a snorkel that you use for dusty travel. Now, I've been using snorkel socks now for a couple of years and I am a massive fan of them. Have a look at this video footage from a Simpson Desert trip in the dust we went through and the results that came out of that snorkel sock. Just driving through some of the most bull dusty sections of road we've ever seen, and it is deep. Look out my window, hon.
Hey mate, I'm at the other side of it.
Copy that, mate.
Snorkel sock filter cleaning. Holy dirtiness.
There's the water that's come out of the snorkel sock.
That's dirty.
That's dirty, yep.
Oh,
That's out of the filter.
yuck.
Maybe that's why I was losing power.
Excellent. Excellent. That looks great. That looks great. So this is the clean side of the filter.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can see on the clean side, there's no dust. That's the inside of the filter box.
That looks good too.
Perfectly clean,
Yep.
which is great. That means the engine's getting clean air. Okay, here we go.
Ew.
Dirty side, dirty. Now, as you could see from that video, I had one of those snorkel socks that pulls over the entire ram head of the snorkel. The last trip that I was on in Cape York, we were going through some really tight brush. So tight, in fact, that it ripped the snorkel sock completely off the car. I couldn't actually open the doors to get out of the car to pick it up. So that's still out there on the trail somewhere, unfortunately. I then replaced it with a second unit that I had, and that unit got flogged to death and ripped to pieces in the same tight scrub. So I found a different snorkel sock setup that will prevent that sort of damage from happening. So just be aware you've got those two different styles. One that pulls over top of the ram's head on the snorkel itself, and the second one is a cartridge unit, which I'm going to install now. Before I do the install, however, let me just provide this one word of caution. If you're going to be putting a snorkel sock on, and the intention of that is that you will reduce the intervals that you check the main air filter, don't bother putting a snorkel sock on. The snorkel sock is just an additional barrier, but I would not change or I would not alter the number of times that you inspect that air filter in your car. I do not put mine on to increase the longevity of the filter inside of the car. I only put it on to help as an additional barrier or defense of dust getting into the motor itself. So this is the particular kit that I got. That's the ram head. It's from a company called Air On Board. You get green coarse filters and red fine filters. And you get a few spares as well. How much did that cost me? Full retail, 68 clams. There's the unit itself. Simply screws into the side of your ram's head. And in this little bag, you're provided with the screws that screw it in and these two spacers should you need them. And we'll have a look on my snorkel head as to whether we need them or not. The way these suckers actually work, once that's screwed onto the face of your ram head, they just simply slide out like that. You take that cartridge filter out, you either wash it and replace it, or you replace it with a brand newie on the trail. Now these come dry, you'll obviously need to oil them, but that's how they work. The other thing, you can't put them in the wrong way. They got these two little idiot tabs here that slot into these two idiot tabs here. So it slides in like that. clicks in place. Just to make it a little bit easier on myself, I'm actually going to take the snorkel head off and fit that filter on the bench. My snorkel's held on with a little 8mm radiator clamp or band clamp. So there's our ram's head, and that unit there simply bolts on in place on the front of the ram. Now I've seen two different types of ram's heads. One is like mine, which has got a flush surface here. So in that instance, that simply pops on there and the screws are run in the side. The second type of unit that I've seen has a little indent here, and it actually has a screw where you can take that mesh off. And that is when you would use these little spacer guys. Because I don't have that style, I won't need those. But it's nice to know that this particular kit works for both safari heads. So I'll simply pop that on there, drill two small pilot holes, and run these screws in. Now I'm just using a 1.5mm drill bit to drill a couple of pilot holes. And now we'll just run our two screws down. All done. That one's already been run in. Now you absolutely do not need to do this, but I've got this little L-shaped rubber channel, and I'm actually going to glue that around the perimeter of the snorkel head here before I fit that fascia, just so that I got a complete seal, because without that you've got hard plastic here on hard plastic here. And you know what? It's no big deal. It'll work fine. It'll just provide a little bit extra area for air to get past. And if you're putting a snorkel sock on there anyway, you're trying to force all the air through the actual filter element. Now those clearances are going to be pretty tight, so I could actually be setting myself up for a bit of failure here, but I'll give it a crack. First thing I'll do is just hit this with a little bit of brake cleaner to help that channeling stick. So what I'm doing is just putting a little bit of super glue on here. I'm just doing little small sections at a time so that the glue can set up before I move on. And trying not to glue my fingers to the snorkel head. While I'm holding this rubber and waiting for this glue to set up, and hopefully not gluing my fingers to it, I have had the opportunity to be running snorkel socks now for a couple of years. What do I believe are the advantages and the disadvantages of these two types? Well, the snorkel sock that fits over top of the head of your cleaner, I believe would probably provide a little bit better filtering efficiency, because there's no gaps, no air gaps where air can actually sneak past the filter element. And that's probably the main advantage with those types of filters. The advantage with this cartridge type that I've seen is it is much less prone to getting any bush damage, you know, from sticks and branches and things like that when you're going through tight track. And secondly, it's a lot easier to change out. With those other snorkel socks, you've got to secure them with a zip tie, and then you got to snip the zip tie off and then put the new one on, and then get yourself a new zip tie and zip tie it on. With these babies, you just pop out that cartridge, replace it with a new one, and slide it back in. So you can actually put them on and off without having to glove up and get all that sticky, bloody, fine filter oil all over your hands. So that is a pretty big advantage for me as well. All right, that rubber seal is now all glued to the perimeter. I put the cut down at the bottom in case there gets any water in there. Can obviously drain out on the bottom. That's the theory anyway. Now we'll try and fit this over top of that rubber. Okay, that seal is nice and tucked up underneath of that screen now, around all sides. Make sure that our element still fits. Excellent. I'm pretty happy with that. Now let's oil these filters up and install the snorkel head back on the car. That pops in there like that. Beautiful. Now we'll reinsert install our ram head. Now, how does that look for center? Not quite. That's it. Perfect. We'll crank her down. There we got it. 5 pre-oiled greenies, 5 pre-oiled reddies. Now there's our cartridge ready to go in. It's idiot proof. You got to put those little half moon shapes in the half moon on the snorkel head. That screen there prevents the filter from being sucked in, and you've actually got the second grill on the original snorkel head, which would stop it again. And there we have it, all installed. That's pretty good. It doesn't detract from the looks of the car either. The green ones are a coarser foam, so I'll use those if I'm just doing regular normal highway driving. The red ones are a finer foam. They're going to be the ones that I use when I'm in the bush, you know, bull dust and that sort of stuff. There you have it, folks. A quick rundown on the installation of the filters on a ram's head snorkel. So if you ever encounter this, then you got one of these to help you out. Keep your shiny side up, everybody. We'll see you next episode. Bye now.